Alright guys, it's Aussie Grim with the Gamers Grim, and we are back here in Starfield today, and I have a very special ship build for you. I was a little reluctant to share this ship with you guys this early, but it is essentially done, so it needs to be put out. This ship is not a themed ship. This is my personal ship. This is the ship that I have spent every hour in the shipbuilder trying to basically create the perfect ship, the best ship that you can get in the game through the shipbuilder. So every single detail of this ship has been essentially curated down to the lowest detail to create the maximum potential and your maximum reward without sacrificing anything. And so this ship is the Imperator. It is the king of ships. And not only do you get everything you want out of this ship, it looks cool too. And that's just as important as anything else. So we're going to do a quick flyby. Make sure that if you'd like to see more content like this, that you like, subscribe, and share to the channel. It really helps out. So do that if you can, and we'll get into the ship. This is a Class C ship, so you will likely need to have all of your shipbuilding maxed out and your piloting skills maxed out. So this is definitely an in-game ship. So, but it's the best you can pretty much get in the game without sacrificing anything. And by that I mean you could make a ship with more cargo, but you would lose speed and more mobility, and you could make probably a little bit faster ship, but you would give up some of the creature comforts and some cargo space. And you could probably make a ship that looks a little cooler, but you would also be giving something up. This ship is, in my opinion, the best ship that you'll be able to build and get the most benefit out of the ship. So let's head inside real quick, and you can see the habs real quick from the inside, and we'll take off. But yeah, so you'll come up into a companionway, and this is not technically a ladderless build, and you'll see why here in a moment, why it's not a ladderless build, but why that doesn't matter. So we'll come out from that companionway and into this Nova Galactic living quarters, which is I believe it's a 2x2 living quarters. What I can tell you is, especially in the Nova Galactic, if you want a pool table, which will appear here, you can move this hab over to the starboard side and bring the other hab over here. But I like the entertainment system, so I gave up the pool table there. But like I said, there's a hab over here, which is an all-in-one berth that's directly to the starboard of this living quarters. And through this, I have a workshop, which is a Stroud Eklund, so that I have access to all these workbenches. But here's what I was talking about. There is a ladder that goes into a Tayo hab, and if you go down here, you'll see that I have some computer banks. The reason that these ladders don't really matter in this build is those habs down there are just for buffing your crew count, or adding something that you want. Like if I go over to the port arm through this hallway here, back through the living quarters, you'll see I have a pharmaceutical lab, so that I have access to that. And then I have an armory down there just for looks, I guess. But you don't really need to worry about these ladders, because you won't really be using them for anything. So you don't need to worry too much. I normally like to go ladderless, but this build showed me that you don't necessarily have to go ladderless, because there's certain habs that you're just not really going to use. They're just there for decoration. And then, of course, we have another hab here to the forward, which is a captain's quarters for Nova Galactic. Nova Galactic is my favorite living quarters and berthing habs, because they come with these really cool comfy chairs, and the beds look like they might actually be comfortable, as opposed to some of the other living quarter habs. Excuse me. But then we'll come up through here and we'll get into the cockpit of the Imperator, and we'll take off.
Calculating and orbit stabilizing.
So we'll go into the free camera and we'll do a little spin around of the ship so you can kind of see the profile of it in flight. There you go. Very good looking ship. Lots of modifiability. You can change out all the habs that you want to change out. And it's very fast. Lots of cargo. Lots of defensives. And you can put any weapons you want on here. You can do all sorts of things that you want. But yeah, this is the culmination of probably 150 hours of gameplay, which I would imagine 70 of it has been spent just in the shipbuilder. And this is about as maximized as you can get, the best bang for your buck with looking good at the same time. So I'll move over to the shipbuilder now, guys, and we'll go over each of the parts and over the statistics and show you how you can build yourself your very own Imperator. All right, guys, we're back in the shipbuilder here in New Atlantis, and we have the Imperator pulled up. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through each part and we'll pull it off, and we'll talk about what you need to do and how you can maximize your build. As you can see, this ship comes with 1362 hull, 1450 shield, 5530 cargo. I currently have a max crew of 6. You could increase that by changing out the habs, but it has 30 light years jump range. It has 100% mobility, and it has max speed. Mine only shows 130, but I don't have any points into any of the engine traits, and I don't have anybody on my crew right now that increases my speed. But that is 130 is the max speed that you can get with the loadout that I have on my character. So let's go in and we'll start by pulling off some of these decorative pieces. We have some Stroud Cap A's here, the Stroud foretop that is there, just like that. And then down the middle, we have a couple of pieces of Tayo cowling that seems to fit really well with the cockpit that I have picked out. Just like that. And then I have a little bit of a decorative piece here on top with the Nova Galactic radiator. The other radiator weighs like 4 mass. And if I'll show you guys. If I add, when I say this is the maximized weight limit, I actually mean that. If I were to add a single 1 mass to this, I immediately start losing mobility. You see that? So this is truly at as much weight as you can put on this build at 3036. So that's how much detail I've put into this. This is literally the maximum mass that you can have that's built out. So with that being said, you could potentially increase your cargo space by removing all of the cowling on this ship. But you'll see here in a moment when we pull off all of the cowling that that would look pretty crappy. But you could do it if you were just all about maximizing your cargo space and only cargo space. We'll go back to pulling off some of these decorative pieces. We have some Tayo braking engines on the starboard and port arms of the ship like this. So I'll pull those off. And then now we got the winglets. The winglets are these Nova cowling 2LSFs, and I have them along the side here just like this. And then out on the leading edge of the ship arms as well. The reason that these are kind of interesting, and I want to talk about them, is these pieces here, the Nova cowling mid pieces, which are just a variant of the angled ones. One of the things that I would recommend doing that I learned was when you put this cowling up, it has a tendency to want to naturally snap on the interior like that. But what you can do, if you come over here, you can snap it in that manner right there so that it's there and it gives you a snap point on the outside of the winglet. And you can put weapon mounts there. I happen to have some thruster arrays there. But if you look on the interior portions of these pieces, I have my weapon mounts on there, which is kind of interesting. It gives you an additional snapping point on the outside edge of your ship just by flipping those around. So that's just a neat little trick that I figured out dealing with all this stuff all the time. But we'll go ahead and pull these winglets off. Again, most of these are pretty decorative, with the exception of these portions of it. These winglets, they actually serve a purpose. You can add things to them and build onto the ship that way. Goodness, my allergies have been really bad the last couple of days. I've had to refilm this video a couple of times because of them, and I'm not doing it this time. But we'll continue with pulling off some of the decorative pieces. There's some Nova cowling on the tops here. Hypothetically or optionally, you could use some Deimos cowling along the center spine of the habs here, and it looks okay, and it does save you a little bit of weight. It brings you in at about 3,029 mass on this ship. If you wanted to really split hairs and have just a few more mass to play with for other decorative pieces that you might want to put on. And then we have some Deimos wing A's up here along the equipment, like that. And then I have a couple of Nova braking engines on the interior to sort of make the inside of those cross sections look pretty cool, like that. And then if we go underneath here, you'll see that I have a couple of Tayo braking engines that are just sort of there to connect with the landing gear. And again, just decorative pieces. You could change these out for whatever you feel comfortable with. And then we'll go on the back here and we'll pull off these Hope Tech nose B aft pieces. This is my least favorite part of the build, are these. There just really isn't a lot of rear-facing decorations that look good. So you kind of have to just bite the bullet and take that. And then, of course, a little window in the back. Again, there are plenty of places where you can cut weight and maybe increase your cargo space a little bit more. But you would be sort of left with this very bare bones looking ship design. But if that's what you were into and all you cared about were the statistics and the statistics only, you could definitely add way more cargo to this and still probably not lose a lot of mobility. But I aim for cool factor as much as I do anything else in my ship builds. But we are down to the core components now. There are no more. There's not much decorative pieces left on the ship, so we'll start right here in the middle with the Commander 500 bridge. This is the best bridge for this build, I think, though an argument could be made for maybe adding one of the other forward-facing bridges, but the Phobos ones don't have as much cargo. You can't really use the overhead ones. Some of these Magellans, again, not as much cargo. I believe the Viking has less as well. But there is an argument that could be made to use one of the Tayo, the Himeji command bridge is probably the better choice or option if this is the kind of bridge you want. You lose about 20 cargo. All right, we're back. Another coughing and sneezing fit, thanks to my allergies. But getting back to what I was saying, you could use the command bridge from Tayo if you wanted, and you'd only lose about 20 cargo, and you'd lose about 5 mass. I just happen to think that the Commander 500 bridge looks the best on this build. So we'll pull that off, and underneath that you will see a pair of NG-20 landing gears, the best landing gear in the game, best bang for your buck. I prefer them in most of my builds, but as you can see, there's an aesthetic where the other landing gear really just sort of came in handy if you look the way that I've got the arms played out. So the other landing gear that I ended up using was the Pinpoint 4G landing gear from Tayo, and I used, I believe, 4 of them along the sides here and here. And they just happen to look really, really good. But continuing down the center, we have the captain's quarters that we saw when I went into the ship. And on top of those, we have 2 Titan 450 helium-3 tanks from Nautilus. I really enjoy these tanks because they give you quite a bit of grav jump fuel for the mass that they give you. And they really color themselves when you put on different colors and paint jobs in such a way that it looks really, really good. And there are a couple of other gas tanks that have snap points similar to these, but they have overlap, and this is a vanilla build, and I don't use any exploits, and I don't use any mods to get the build to work. This is a pure vanilla build, so these are the best tanks for that. If you want to use like snapping exploits or download a mod, then you can use other gas tanks just fine. But in a straight vanilla build, these Titan 450 helium-3 tanks will do you something special because they don't overlap with each other or touch anything else and block it. But then going back from there, we have the Fusor DC 403 reactor. This is the best reactor in the game. When I say the best, I mean it is the one that is at the bottom of the list. There's a few that you could make an argument that you wanted to maybe have more, reactor shielding, or you like the way the one looks better. There's no real wrong reactor here in the C class. You just have to sort of balance reactor health and weight against what you want. If you really wanted to add that reactor because it looks cool, you really wouldn't lose much mobility You would have to maybe tweak some things to get it to back up to 100 mobility for that one. But yeah, so you have that reactor here in the back. And then we have the grav drive. This one is the one where you take the one that's just below. So that's not the best. Where are they at? Where's the grav drives? Come here. But this is the NG340 grav drive, which is like the second best bracketed for the Class Cs, you know, because you have these here. But I'm using this one because it saves a couple of mass. It just does. You don't really. You get as much grav jump thrust as you do from the highest end one. The high end one just has more drive health. I mean, and that's how much of the detail I'm putting into this is like that's seven mass that I saved and lost nothing essentially. I didn't get. It doesn't have as high a health, but it's the trade-offs again. So you could use this, and maybe you don't put the Nova cowling on. You know what I mean? So it's down to that. You know what I mean in this build. And then on top of that, I have my Vanguard Bulwark shield generator, best shield in the game, guys. Go to the Vanguard quest line, at least up until the point that you get the equipment that you can build for them. Yes, there are shields that are bigger than this, but you're only giving up 200 shield health for way less mass, and it's cheaper to build. So go get the Vanguard Bulwark shield generator. There's no reason to put any other shield generator on your ship. But we'll keep going back. After that, we get into the engines. So, of course, with this build, we're going to go with 3 SAL 6830 engines. These are really great engines for maneuverability. Some of the best engines in the game that you can get with 18,000 thrust and 8,800 maneuvering thrust. Really good ships. And then when you pair them with these SAE 5660 engines from Slayton Aerospace, they really pair well together and give you great speed and great mobility while looking very, very, very aesthetically pleasing with one another. And then we'll come down here, and here is the two pieces of the ship that aren't decorative, but they are structural. The Teo end caps here, they act as the connection point between the landing gear here and the rest of the ship. You could probably put any of the sort of structural pieces between here if you wanted. I just happen to like the way the Teo end caps had this like curved or swooping side to them, and it just looked good. So yeah. And now we'll get to the cargo. I'm sure everybody wants to know which cargo holds to use. So we have here 4 of these 30T hauler cargo holds from Sextant. They're only 1,000 cargo and 5 hull with 212 mass. The reason that these are probably the best cargo holds in the game is the snap points on them. There's cargo holds with more cargo space and maybe even better mass. And if you want to use those, you can. But they tend to create problems with the way the snap points work. These ones have really good snap points and seem to be one of the only few that allow you to sort of act as a structural piece. So yeah, these are probably the better cargo haulers or cargo holds for this particular ship. And but we have 2 more, and they sort of demonstrate what I mean by how some of the other cargo holds have limited snap points and can really create problems. So we got the T10 hauler cargo holds with 585 cargo, and and they got a pretty decent amount of mass, but they really only work, under certain conditions and look good under certain conditions, and they happen to just really work with this particular build, and so they're put back here underneath the engines. So again, this is another section that you could add more cargo, but you'd have to remove quite a bit of mass to get that to happen. And we can kind of go through the habs. There's the captain's quarters. There's the Nova Galactic all-in-one berth. And right next to that is a Nova Galactic living quarters. And then there is a hab cross brace between these and the Stroud Science Lab that you saw when we walked through, that leads into a Tayo storeroom, which has a ladder that goes down into the Tayo armory that I have there. Of course, I do have the slim docker here down there as well. You could hypothetically put another docker on over here or over here if you wanted. That's really up to you. But yeah, there's the slim docker's the best. Let's just be honest. And so, of course, another cross brace going into the Stroud workshop and going into the storeroom and then into the control station. So that is pretty much the ship build, guys. That's all you'll need to make the Imperator. It is a vanilla build. You don't need any mods to make this work, and you don't need to use any snapping tricks or special things. Oh, I think I did forget. I am using the 120 LD landing bay from Demos, but any landing bay would work here if you really don't like this one, but this one looks really good with the build as it is. So that is the Imperator, guys. It is the near perfect ship that you can build with a Class C license and all of the ship ports available to you. So I look forward to seeing some of your ship builds or variations of this one. But until then, thanks for stopping by, guys. This has been Aussie Grim with the Gamer's Grim.